Martio here. Hope you've all had a really good weekend. And welcome to Monday, a very special Monday. Everything today is about you guys. You've chosen everything today. Firstly, we've got an album ranking review asked by one of the subscribers. Then the second show of the day will be on a band that have asked me to review them. And thirdly, there's the winner of the poll of the classic album. So today's album ranking was asked by someone. Said after I'd done the Black Star Riders, he says you've got to do a Lizzy one now. So that's what we're doing today. We're doing Thin Lizzy. Thin Lizzy are one of my favourite bands. Been around quite a while. I got into them around about 77. I was about 11 years old when I heard my first Thin Lizzy, and I've been a fan ever since. I think it's because they were in the same they were recorded on Vertigo for a while, which is where Status Quo were. So Thin Lizzy formed in Dublin 1969 by Brian Downey and the magnificent Phil Lynott, and they got Eric Bell on guitar. They've had quite a few people in the band. Some surprising people have worked with Thin Lizzy. Midge Ure has worked with them. He wrote some songs and he's done backing vocals and various keyboards on bits, and I'll point them ones that he actually sort of contributed on. So we've got 12 albums to look at. So we'll get started. So coming in at number 12 is the debut album, self-titled Thin Lizzy. This came out in 1971 and it had Phil Lynott, Eric Bell and Brian Downey. For a debut album, it does not sound nothing like their other albums, but it's a pretty good album, like all these albums are. It was very hard to rank again, but because I do like them all, I don't dislike any of the albums at all. Even the different styles of Thin Lizzy music, they're all really good. Okay then, so the first track on the debut album, The Friendly Ranger at Clontarf Castle. This starts off with a speaking bit from Phil. It's got a really great bass line, and then it goes into this nice mellow track. It is different, you know. If you've never heard these early albums, they're worth a listen. Let me get Honestly Is No Excuse. This is an acoustic number with a bit of keyboard in it, very pastiche. Oh, I'd say more very Bee Gees or the very first Genesis album. It's very pastiche. It's not bad at all. Then we get Didi Levine. This is, I'll say, the first time you sort of get that inkling of what was going to come. Nice rock track, that is. Then we get Ray Gun. Nice blues number, some terrific guitar work from Eric Bell. Terrific song. Then we get Look What the Wind Blew In. I'd say this is the first song that actually sounds that Thin Lizzy sound is coming out. It's only got the one guitar and the bass, so it's not got that rich sound that you was going to get, but it is a terrific track. Then you get Era. Nice little track, very Celtic, nice guitar work from Eric Bell, really, really good song. Return of the Farmer's Son, another good rocker. It's heading down that line again where we've got that distinctive Thin Lizzy sound just starting to break through. You know, they were still experimenting, they didn't know what they were going to be quite doing, but that is one of them tracks. Clifton Grange Hotel, some nice bass work from Phil on this, and the little delicate bits of guitar from Eric Bell makes this song really good. Then we get the Saga of the Aging Orphan. It's okay, not my cup of tea at all. But, you know, remember this is their first album. Then we get Remembering. That's a nice track. Really is a nice track. For a debut album, for a band that didn't know quite what they were doing and what way they were going to go, it's still a very good start, and I'll give it an RTO ranking of 5.5. Moving on then, so coming in at number 11 is their second album, released in 1972, Shades of the Blue Orphanage. Again, it's still searching for that sound, and they're experimenting with different songs, but this album is just a little bit better than the debut. It's still the lineup of Lynott, Bell and Downey, and the first track on here is called The Rise and Demise of the Funky Nomadic Tribes. This has got a great drumming beat. It's got that tribal beat from Brian Downey, and Eric Bell's guitar is quite rocky. It's a little bit more heavy than on the previous album. Really good track, and it's the best one on the album. Then we get a thing called Buffalo Gal. It's a bit different. I'm not quite sure about it, and I never have. It's a little bit weird for me, but it's okay. Then we get I don't want to forget how to jive. It's a very short track. It's very 50s rock and roll, but a really good track. Then we get a track called Sarah. Now this is not to be confused with the Sarah on a later album. This Sarah is his grandmother. It's a nice ballad about his grandmother who brought Phil up when he was younger. So it's a very nice dedicated song to his grandma. Very, very nice song. Then we got Brought Down. This has got more evidence of that Thin Lizzy sound just breaking through. Great track, solid. Then we get Babyface. This is a good rocker. Again, that sound is starting to come through. Then we've got Chatting Today. This has got nice acoustic Spanish guitar all the way through, and you get Eric coming in with these nice little bits as well of guitar, electric guitar. Then we get Call the Police. This is a solid track, good rocker. And then we get the last track, Shades of a Blue Orphanage. It's a really good song, but it goes on too long. It's about 2 minutes too long for my liking. But on the whole, it is a better album, and the direction is starting to go down that rock more than the blues funky sound of some of the tracks off the earlier album. And I give it an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Coming in at number 10 is their third album. It's funny that the first 3 were going up like in stages. So number 10 is the third album, came out in 73, Vagabonds of the Western World. This one actually does start to sound more like Thin Lizzy. Out of the albums they did with Eric Bell, this is the best one they did. It's really more rocky. It's a really good album. First track is called Mama Nature Said. Nice blues rocker this is. Really good solid track. The Hero and the Madman. This is a different sort of track, but it really does work. It's quite a nice piece. Slow Blues. Great track. And that Thin Lizzy sound is starting to really come through. It's the sound that from this album on would carry them through their career. Groundbreaking sound that was, and it was the first real track off this album that sounded like that. Then we get what I say the first real classic rock, The Rocker. This is a terrific song. The best version of this though is on the album, the live album, the second one, where he's got mostly all the guitarists that have actually played in Thin Lizzy, including Eric Bell. It's much better live, but this is a truly great track, one of my favourite tracks. Then we get the title track, Vagabond of the Western World. Really good track, great rocker again. That sound is definitely, on each of these tracks, the sound is coming through. Then we get Little Girl in Bloom, another solid track, nice guitar work from Eric. Bass line on this is really good as well. Then I'm gonna creep up on you. Great Phil Lynott bass line. You can imagine him with that bass up here, giving it that. Great line, and some nice wah-wah guitar from Eric. Really, really good. Then we get a song For a While I'm Away. Very pastiche. Nice track. Now on the normal album, that's the last track, but I've got the CD that's got a few extra tracks on them, and one of them is Whiskey in the Jar. Great song, classic song, and a great version of the song by the band. Not my favourite song on the album, but I do like that track. Then we get Black Boys on the Corner. This is truly that Thin Lizzy sound coming through now. It's very distinctive, and it really does start to feel that Thin Lizzy have found their groove. Randolph's Tangle, sorry. Great track. It's got that mixture that well, they're going for that song when they do that little bit of bluesy, funky songs they do, and that's getting there as well. Then we got Broken Dreams, a great blues number, terrific song. On the whole, this, as I said, this is the best album with Eric Bell, and they're not so lost now. I think they know what they want to do. Suppose that may be why Eric left, because he was more blues. I don't know, but I give it this album the RTO ranking of 6.3. Very promising and a really good album. Okay, moving on. Coming in under number 9, funny enough, is their 4th album. Came out in 1974, Nightlife. Again, this is the start of they're establishing that sound, and this is the first time we get that double guitar, because Scott Gorham and Brian Robinson come in, and you've got Brian Downey and Phil again. So the sound is starting to get more what we call Thin Lizzy. So the first track is She Knows. This is the first track we get that lovely double guitar, that rich sound that it brings. Terrific song. Really like that song. Then we get the title track, Nightlife. Great blues number, but you've got the double guitar now, and which makes it even better. It's Only Money. Nice rocker. Great guitars. Scott and Brian, terrific on that. They play well together. They've got play off each other really well. Terrific song. And then we get one of the classics, Still in Love with You. This is a terrific track. I don't need to talk about this one much if you're a Thin Lizzy fan. It was a staple of the shows. Even I've heard Black Star Riders play this. It's still being played live today. Terrific song. Then we get Frankie Carroll. It's all right, not my sort of thing. Then Showdown. This is one of them tracks that they still in a little bit of transition. It's a little bit of the past and a bit of the future. It's getting there. Banshee. Nice guitar work from Brian and Scott. Terrific little piece. Only a minute and a half, but it shows what they're going to be doing. Philomena, Balti's mum. Nice track, nice things you're saying, terrific little track. Then we get one of my favourite tracks, Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la. Solid, best track on the album, that heavy double guitar. Staple on live shows, it's really good. Then we get Dear Heart. That's a nice track. It's solid, it's not the best, but it's still very listenable. On the whole, for the first album with the double guitar, it was terrific, and it gets an RTO ranking of 6.5. Right, coming in at number 8 is the 10th studio album, released in 1980. It was the first album that featured Snowy White, and it's the first time you got Darren Wharton on keyboards. Now Darren Wharton, if you've been watching us from the start, or if you haven't, Darren Wharton is the lead singer of Dare. Now if you haven't watched my show on Dare, go and have a look at it, because you know, this is where Darren started before he formed Dare. Great songs on here, but there's a reason why it's only at number 8. There is better. This is a great album, but there are better ones to come. It was very hard from this one onwards to get them in the right order. So let's have a look at the tracks. And someone else appears on here, Midge Ure. He does a little bit of keyboards, a little bit of singing. So Midge Ure, you know, who went on to do Ultravox and write Do They Know It's Christmas? So he's got a connection with Thin Lizzy. First track, We Will Be Strong. I love this track. It's solid. It's a typical Thin Lizzy song. Great song. Then we get the classic Chinatown, and the backing vocal is done by Midge Ure on this. I love that driving riff. It's very distinctive riff, and you hear that and you know it's Chinatown. Really good track. Then we get Sweetheart, another great solid track, good rocker. Sugar Blues. It's got that typical line at bass line. Great riffs from Scott Gorham, some lovely guitar work, Snowy White, and Brian Downey as ever, solid as a rock. Great track. Then we get one of my favourite tracks by Thin Lizzy, Killer on the Loose. It's one of the best riffs that they wrote. Love it. It's just that driving, and Phil's lyric on this is terrific. Then we get Having a Good Time, another great track, Solid as You Like. Genocide. I love the opening riff. It drives the rocker on all the way through. Didn't I? Unfortunately, not Iain's cup of tea. I just never could get on with that track. Then we end up with Hey You. Brilliant track, great solo. Snowy White is all over this. Although it's low down in the ranking, only coming at number 8, it's still a good album, and it gets an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 7 is the 5th album from 1975, and this is Fighting. Really good album, and the lineup on this is Phil Lynott, Scott Gorham, Brian Robinson and Brian Downey. It opens up with a great Bob Seger cover, Rosalie. I actually prefer Thin Lizzy's version of this track. It is a really good version. It's great live as well. It's on the Live and Dangerous album, and terrific song. Then we get For Those Who Love to Live. Let's start again. For Those Who Love to Live. This is some of the best twin guitar from Gorham and Robinson. Fantastic. One of their best pieces of working together. Just love that riff they come up with. Then we got a classic, Suicide. I just love this riff. Terrific song. Always like that one. Then we get Wild One. Another great guitar in this. The twin guitars really on fire, and it's got that great Thin Lizzy sound now. It's really up there, and it's very dominant in their work. Fighting My Way Back. Again, this has got one of Phil Lynott's classic bass lines, and the strong riffs from Scott Gorham and Brian Robinson. Really good. Let me get a track called King's Vengeance. Now the beginning of this sounds like a track by Status Quo called Let's Ride, that's on the Rockin' All Over the World album, and then it goes off into a nice rocker. Really, really good, solid track. Spirits Slip Away. This is quite proggy for Thin Lizzy. Great drumming from Brian Downey. I really like that track. Silver Dollar, nice little boogie ruse track, great stuff. Freedom Song. Robinson and Gorham play off each other again, great on this. There's such a rapport between them two, and it shows. You can imagine having some fun in the studio. Then we get the Ballad of a Hard Man. Love that driving riff, solid rocker. Terrific album this is. Play it quite a lot, really into this album, and I give it a RTO ranking of 7.2. Right, coming in at number 6 is the 7th album, released in '76, and I think this is one of the first albums I heard. It's Johnny the Fox. So again, it's Lynott, Gorham, Robertson and Downey. Really good album. Yes, it definitely is the first album I heard, because I've just seen what tracks on it. First track is Johnny. I love the solo in this. I think it's Scott Gorham that does it. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but it sounds like a Scott Gorham solo. Really good. And then we get a track called Rocky. He's just lifted his ears up because I said his name. He's sitting in the corner. Great double guitar work in this and great solo. Then we get Borderline. One of them great slow songs from Thin Lizzy. Has that nice riff, stunning solo. Terrific song. And this is the first track next one is the first track I ever heard by Thin Lizzy. Don't Believe a Word. I love this track. I just love that riff. I even like the Gary Moore version where it starts off slower and goes into the harder riff. It's just a great song. Then we get Fool's Gold. This is a very Celtic song. It's all about, I think, the potato famine. So it's a great song. One of Lynott's finest. He writes some great Celtic stuff. Then we get Johnny the Fox meets Jimmy the Weed. Love this, the funkiness of the guitar in this. Terrific song. Then we get Old Flame, another solid track. Just love the guitar work in this. Then we get my favourite track off the album, Massacre. It's one of my favourite Lizzy songs, full stop. I just love that guitar riff and that great driving bass and fill. Terrific song. Then we get Sweet Marie. It's okay. It's not the best track on the album, but I do like it. Then we get Boogie Woogie Dance. Great rocker to end the album. Proper rocky Thin Lizzy with great driving riffs, terrific solos from both of them, and another solid bass line. Again, another fantastic album, and I give it an RTO ranking of 7.4. Okay then, coming in at number 5 is the 11th studio album, released in 1981, sorry. And Darren Morton now he's actually a member of the band. He's been given full membership. So you've got Phil Lynott, Scott Gorham, Snowy White's last appearance on an album, Darren Morton and Brian Downey. First track on here, superb track, Angel of Death. Nice song, nice rocker, and the first time you really hear keyboards, obviously, on a Thin Lizzy track, and it's amazing. Darren's doing the backing vocal. Terrific song, one of my favourites. It's the best one on the album. Then we get the title track, Renegade. Love this. It's got an awesome bass line, really moving song, great lyric from Phil Lynott, brilliant stuff. Then we get The Pressure Will Blow, another great rocker. just brilliant stuff. Leave This Town, bluesy rocker, and it sounds very much like ZZ Top. That bass, that deep bass line, terrific. Then we get Hollywood, Down on Your Luck, staple track in the live sets from now on. It's got some driving riffs. Marley's joined us. Very good track, Hollywood. I've got the best versions on the live album. Terrific track. Then the next track, No One Told Him. This is another solid track. I do love the guitar melody on this. It's just very solid and quite delicate in places. Then we get Fats. I'm not keen on that one. Mexican Blood is terrific. It's got that typical Mexican guitar on the acoustic, and a little bit of keyboard. It does make it sound really great. Then we get It's Getting Dangerous, solid rocker. Out of the two albums that Snowy White did with Thin Lizzy, this is the best one. And the addition of Darren Warden was terrific. So I give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, then coming in at number 4 is the 8th studio album. Came out in 1977, Bad Reputation. Great album. You've got Phil Lynott, Scott Gorham, Brian Downey and Brian Robinson again. Opening track, Soldier of Fortune, solid as you like, classic. Love this twin guitar in this. It's got that, as I say, it's very distinctive sound. I just love that track. Bad Reputation again, another classic. Great heavy rocker. Opium Trail, more of that solid Thin Lizzy sound that's now really well established. Then we get the brilliant Southbound, terrific track. And then we get a classic, Dancing in the Moonlight, It's Caught Me in the Spotlight. It's one of the best bass lines that Phil ever wrote. It's a great song. I've heard it done by so many people. You go around the pub scene, and if they're gonna do a Thin Lizzy track, it's always this one. Terrific song. Then we got A Killer Without a Cause, some driving riffs in this. Terrific song. Downtown Sundown, solid track. There's a Woman Gonna Break Your Heart, another great track. I love the drums on this, absolutely amazing. Then we get Dear Lord. Lead guitar work on this is great, fantastic. This is one of my favourite albums, although it's not my top album, it's still one of my favourite albums. And I'll give it an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 3. This is the 12th and final studio album, Thunder and Lightning. Wow, what an album this is. Snowy White had left, and in come John Sykes. What a difference he made to this sound, and it's a shame they never made any more because of Phil's untimely death. I think this lineup would have been made a few albums together because it was a great sound. First track, Thunder and Lightning. God, heaviest start to a Thin Lizzy album. I just love the driving riffs from John Sykes. Very heavy, very solid, great opener. Then we get This Is the One. Oh, John Sykes again, terrific guitar player. Great driving riff on this. He had such an influence on this band, on this album as well. You know, he's a terrific musician, great track. Then we get The Sun Goes Down. I love this. It's got a great bass line, the Wharton keyboards and his backing vocals makes this such a great song. And Sykes' solo in this is terrific. Then we get The Holy War. Terrific song. Great bass line, great twin guitars. Sykes and Gorham work well together. Both at very similar sort of styles. Great song. And then we get the heaviest track ever. I remember seeing this on Top of the Pops for the very first time. It was the first thing they released from this album, and it was Cold Sweat. Ugh. Some great riffs, great song. Then we get Someday She's Going to Hit Back. Another solid rocker. Then Please Don't Go. Love this again. This is top drawer Thin Lizzy. Bad Habits. Well, the riff that opens this up, awesome. Solid as you like. Heart Attack, another great rocker. This album was so much different from what you'd already got, and it's a nice way for them to unfortunately sign off. As I said, I think if they'd have made a couple of more, I think they'd have got better, and they'd have moved on with the sound. They were coming up to date. That's why I think they kept going, because they just kept changing to suit the mood. But this album gets an RTO ranking of 8.5. Right, top two. This is always the hardest bit for me, the top two. These two albums, there's not much between them. I'd say that much. It was very hard, but in the end I settled with what I did, because if I'd have kept going it'd have been changed 3 or 4 times. So coming in at number 2 is the 6th album, released in '76, Jailbreak. This again is the classic lineup of Gorham, Robinson and Downey. Jailbreak, there's not much you can say about Jailbreak. It's just a terrific track. Love that opening. I love that middle bit with the police sirens and the riffs. Terrific. Then we get the brilliant Angel from the Coast. Great little track that is. Nice guitar work from Brian and Scott. Then we get Running Back. Nice little rocker this is. Quite heavy. Then we get Romeo and the Lonely Girl. I love the funky guitar in here. It's quite disco-y in parts. Terrific song. How they brought that modern, for then, that disco-y sound into one of their tracks. Terrific. Warriors, another classic. Great solo in this. Driving riffs. Then we get The Boys and Back in Town. Okay, this is a classic, but it's overplayed. And it's one of them tracks again. If I never hear it again, I wouldn't lose a tear over it. But that doesn't mean I don't like the track, but it's just, if you pick up in a compilation album of rock albums, Thin Lizzy track, it's either this or another one. Fight or Fall. I love this slow tempo bluesy song. Really good stuff. And then we get the magnificent cowboy song. I love this. I love that twin guitar in it. You get this nice solid little ditty, and then you get them great guitars. And then what I like about this as well, when you get on the Live and Dangerous, you get this and then you go straight into The Boys in Back in Town. Very, very clever, and it works lovely. They should have done it on this album, to be quite honest. And then the last track is The Majestic Emerald. What can I say about this track? Except it is absolutely brilliant. My second favourite track by Thin Lizzy. I love that Celtic sound and the storyline. Just can't beat this song. Terrific. So, Jailbreak album, solid all the way through. Gets an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. So number 1, it's the 9th studio album, came out in 1979, and it's Black Rose, a rock legend. I think this is number one because it's got Gary Moore on it, and I love Gary Moore. So, and it is, they say it's one of the most successful albums they put out. Although Gary Moore had been around, he'd been on tour with them in '74 and '77. This is the only album that he's actually credited on. So you've got Phil Lynott, Scott Gorham, Gary Moore and Brown Downey. First track, Do Anything You Want to Do. The drumming on this is just electric. You get some great guitar work, and then you get drums again, and then you've got Phil coming in with the Elvis is dead, the King is dead. It just keeps on it towards the end. It's that rumbly drum that really makes this track. Then we get The Toughest Street in Town. I love the opening riff to this. It's that dun dun dun. Great. It's great melody, great kick. Really good rocker. Then we get the funkiest track on the album, S&M. Yeah, this is very funky, and if you listen to the lyrics, it's quite saucy. But I do love the track. I just love that funky bass line that Phil's got in this, and you get some nice wah-wah-y sounding guitar. Terrific. Then we get another classic that's overplayed, Waiting for an Alibi. Again, I love the track, but if I don't hear it again, I'm not going to get upset about it. Again, pick up a compilation album of rock songs, Thin Lizzy. It's either The Boys Are Back in Town or Waiting for an Alibi. Then we get Sarah. Now this Sarah is the one about his daughter being born. It's quite relaxing, quite funky, but I just love the lyrics. It's a very personal song to Phil. Terrific song. Then we get the great Gotta Give It Up. Some more solid riffs on this. Terrific track. Then we get Out of Here. This is written by Phil Lynott and Midge Ure. Midge Ure plays a bit of keyboard in this. He does some backing vocals, and you can distinctively hear Midge Ure's voice. Great track. Great track. I can see why some of the Ultravox songs are quite rocky, because I think he did so much work with Thin Lizzy. Then we get With Love, another solid track. Hello, it's alright, Marley's up here. Where do you want now? I do apologise, folks. I've got a dog that wants a lot of fuss. Right, Griffs. Right, so the best track is the last track, and it's my favourite track by Thin Lizzy. It's The Black Rose, a rock legend. This is just terrific. I just like the solos on this a little bit more than Emerald, and I think that's another why this is number one. This song is just tremendous. I just love it. I've loved the live version of it. I've heard it when Gary Moore did that tribute thing in Dublin. That was a great version. Terrific song. And on the whole, this is my favourite album. I play it all the time, and it gets a RTO ranking of 9.5. I've now been harangued by my dogs. So that's part one of Viewers Day done. Next one will be the Minister of Pain, the band from America. I'm going to look out, and you guys need to check them out. So for now, I will say ta-da, and I shall find out what my two dogs want. Take care for now.